Will Trump's tariffs cause the next Great Recession? Look, love him or hate him, the Don, he's going to be calling the shots for the next 4 years in America. And part of his 4D chess strategy is using threats of tariffs to make countries toe the line and negotiate better trade deals for the United States. Now, some say this is going to be good for the USA, but also others are saying this is going to drag the whole world down to the 9th cycle of hell. Massive recession, new Great Depression coming. Which side's telling the truth? Well, let's dissect what is happening, learn how this affects our crypto bags. First, we need to understand tariffs. Tariffs, favorite word in the English dictionary. In a nutshell, they are taxes imposed on imported goods from other countries. Beyond generating revenue, tariffs are used to protect domestic industries and to retaliate against countries for unfair trade practices. Almost every country in the world imposes some kind of tariffs on some kind of products. In general, wealthier countries have low tariffs compared with developing countries. This is because developing countries have much more fragile industries that need to be protected from the outside forces of the world. These countries need more sources of revenue. And, you might not know this, by the way, but the United States has maintained high tariffs for decades until actually income taxes came in and supplanted tariffs. So it used to be tariffs paid for everything, and then somebody got the brilliant idea just to steal your money instead from income taxes. Taxation is theft. Okay, since we opened up this can of worms, let's travel back to more than a century ago. It's important to understand context. In 1915, half of Uncle Sam's revenue was from excise tax, and a third came from customs duties or tariffs. Those were the days when personal income taxes were only around 5.9% of revenue. After World War II, tariffs went on a decline. Now, aside from this, history also tells us this is not an isolated case, and Trump is far from being the first president to use the tariff tool. The U.S. Constitution grants Congress the ability to regulate commerce with foreign nations and among the several states, which it can use to impose tariffs. But throughout the years, this has slowly been delegated over to the executive branch, aka the president. Now, before the executive took over, Congress passed the 1930 Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act, which many economists believe to have actually worsened the Great Depression. In 1960, the USA imposed the chicken tax. Yes, real tariff. That's a real thing, guys. So the US imposed a whopping 25% tax on light truck imports in retaliation against the Europeans for imposing tariffs on American chicken imports. Now look, during Donald Trump's first term, he was also a tariff fan. He imposed tariffs on China for a wide variety of things, claiming unfair trade practices, intellectual property theft, all this kind of stuff. These tariffs led to a trade war with China, with both countries imposing retaliatory tariffs on each other's goods. That was 2018, by the way. You might remember that was a perfect bear market in 2018. And of course, right now, Trump is imposing tariffs left, right, and center. It's not just China getting the tariffs. Oh no, it's everybody now. Canada's getting them. Mexico's getting them. Europe's getting them. Tariffs for everybody, okay? It's all part of the Make America Great Again. Now, before we get into how this is going to affect the U.S. economy and, of course, our crypto bags, a real quick shout out to Femex. Look, guys, if you want a great place to trade crypto coins, you want to get a free $50, then listen up. Femex is one of the OG cryptocurrency exchanges. Look, you're trading the markets anyway. You might as well have a place that's got deep liquidity, all the top coins, and you can get a crazy deal right now from the guys at Femex. Here's what it is. If you use the link down below in the description to start your account, you get $50 for free, just for signing up, just for starting your account. You take that $50, put in a trade, try out the exchange. Okay, and look, I know you're thinking, like, Lark's been crazy recently. There's always opportunity to make money in these markets. Longing, shorting, all kinds of stuff, okay? So see the opportunities in front of you, take advantage of them when they're out there. And look, not only you get $50 for free, but you also get a 20% deposit bonus. You put $1,000, you get Twitter back. And you get up to $1,000 in trading bonuses. Pretty damn cool, right? Link down below. Go check it out. There's a limited time offer. Okay, so let's talk about how this is going to affect the U.S. economy, the world economy. Trump right now, he's taking this whole thing to the next level, okay? He's very serious about the tariff thing and using it as a tool probably to get much better trade deals. So let's look at the pros of tariffs first. Now, one of the benefits of tariffs is the protection of American industries from foreign competitors. The tariffs will increase the price of imports, which theoretically is going to encourage U.S. consumers to buy locally produced goods, although America doesn't produce enough stuff, so then companies are going to have to onshore to America, but that doesn't happen overnight. It takes a while for these things to play out. Another positive effect is the increase in federal revenue, which could help the government balance its wildly out of balanced budget sheet. It's even possible. I don't know. Pay down the debt. Geez Louise. Now, according to a Brookings Institution report, during Trump's first term, the U.S. government collected $79 billion tariffs in 2019, twice the amount from 2 years earlier. So tariffs did bring in a lot of money. Tariffs could also encourage companies to set up shop stateside instead of outsourcing to developing countries where costs are much cheaper. If the tariffs are high enough, any savings, of course, the manufacturers get from producing overseas will end up being negated. You see, when manufacturers return to the US, this means, of course, more employment, more good jobs for Americans, theoretically, and an increase in tax collection from personal and corporate taxes as well. On the flip side, and this is what everybody worries about, the flip side part. A lot of people are arguing that this could turn the world upside down, lead to a global recession, a new Great Depression, an event where we have gnashing of teeth and pulling of hair and crying in the corner quietly in your shower thinking, why didn't you sell the dog with that coin? So far, Trump has imposed tariffs on China. Well, the tariffs on Canada and Mexico are still in effect, now being postponed temporarily, but I think coming in just a few days. Anyway, as of now, 25% tariff also on the way for the EU. So basically all the United States' major trading partners. For the rest of the world, Trump has made it known that a reciprocal tariff will be used against countries imposing taxes on US-made products. This would definitely hurt those countries. But what about the USA? Is it really beneficial? Well, let's look closely at what happened during Trump's first term. Now, one of the pros of tariffs is, of course, the protection of domestic industries. However, the Federal Reserve found that tariffs actually led to a 1.4% drop in manufacturing jobs in 2018 and 2019 when they happened. Any small gains from protecting local producers were wiped out by higher production costs and retaliatory tariffs. Federal Reserve data recorded about 12.4 million manufacturing jobs when Trump took office in January 2017 and just 12.2 million manufacturing jobs when he left in January 2021. Now, I know it's a bit different. COVID had already kind of hit and stuff like that. There were problems in the economy beyond just what tariffs may have caused. So not a direct correlation, but still worth pointing out. Furthermore, Oxford Economics found that tariffs and the trade war during Trump 1.0 cost the U.S. 245,000 jobs in total, shaved 0.5% off the GDP, and cut real incomes by $675 per household. Economists generally agree that tariffs are bad overall, whichever side of the fence you're on, and they have historical evidence to back it up. Let's take another example here. In 2002, the George W, man. Those were the times, man. Back in America. George W, man. Gonna invade Iraq, man. Anyway, he imposed tariffs on certain steel imports to protect the domestic industry, TLDR, according to a research paper titled The Unintended Consequences of U.S. Steel Import Tariffs, a Quantification of the Impact. During 2002, who names that crap? I feel like I read that during university. Anyway, more American workers lost their jobs due to higher steel prices than the total number employed by the U.S. steel industry itself. Now, according to the study, higher steel prices resulted in 200,000 jobs lost in the steel consumption sector, which is larger than the total number of people, 187,500, working in the steel producing sector in the United States. Doesn't sound like a win. Trump 2.0 will hit Canada and Mexico very hard. It could slash Mexico's GDP by 16%, according to Bloomberg Economics, which forces them to the table, which forces them to want to sit down and make a deal, which is the point. Mexico knows it's a brutal event coming for them. The Canadian Chamber of Commerce's Business Data Lab paints a grim picture for Canada as well. Canada is projected to see a 2.6% GDP decline, costing Canadian households $1,900 annually. The U.S. is expected to experience a 1.6% GDP drop, costing Americans $1,300 annually, which needs to be offset by Trump's proposed tax cuts, which could make it all a wash, actually, in the end for America, assuming everybody loses their jobs. Now, that's pretty close as well to the $1,200 estimate from the Peterson Institute for International Economics. China, on the other hand, is expected to see its real GDP shrink by $128 billion in Trump's 4-year term. Now, these are a lot of big numbers here, but we do have to remember, all these countries, they have interconnected economies. Nothing happens in isolation anymore. This is not the 1920s or 1930s anymore, and countries are a lot more isolated due to globalization. When a butterfly flaps its wings in Brazil, we feel it somewhere else. One country can't simply escape any economic turmoil experienced by another economy, certainly not major economies like China, the USA, Canada, and Mexico. Take tourism, for example. If people from other countries are facing hardships, Do you think they're going to be inclined to go on expensive holidays, visit New York, go to the beaches of Miami? In fact, we've already seen that. China's economic downturn that's been going on over the past few years. Chinese tourists have, to an extent, disappeared from overseas because they can't afford to go overseas anymore. Citizens from a struggling economy, they also don't buy iPhones. They don't buy Teslas. Nice little chocolate bar might seem expensive for some people who are trying to make ends meet because they just lost their job. So are we doomed? Doesn't paint a great picture, does it? As a crypto investor, obviously, it's a kind of worrying situation. On the one hand, kind of pumped, and the other is kind of like, oh shit. There's a wild mix at play here. Trump's, of course, all about the drill baby drill thing, and he wants to get energy prices down by producing more oil, which will help the consumer. So the tariffs can be a wash in that situation. Cheap energy can help wrestle the inflation monster down and make life cheaper for people. That may offset all the tariffs. Plus, he's floating $5,000 tax refunds for families that actually pay into the tax system due to the Doge Department spending cuts. Then there's further tax cuts planned, which again could offset the sort of burden of any tariffs. And that $5,000 back, by the way, way more than the $1,200 or $1,300, obviously, that households are predicted to have to spend extra. So game changer here, potentially. Look, here's the game. Slash taxes on Americans, lean on tariffs instead, bring the price of oil down, throw some money back from government savings, bada bing, bada boom. It all pans out. Big if it all pans out, low inflation, fat tax refunds, it's rocket fuel for markets. Why? Well, flashback to the pandemic. $1,200 stimulus checks increased Bitcoin trading volume when banks still called it a scam. A study said that 1 out of 10 used the stimulus check to buy crypto. That's freaking crazy, man. Now picture $5,000 hitting wallets. They've already got relief from the tax cut. They've already got relief from lower oil prices. Now they just got a $5,000 check in their hand. Boom. Problem is, none of this happens overnight either. It's going to be probably later this year until any of this stuff plays out. The good stuff, the bad stuff, we got to suck up front and eat that sort of, eat your cabbage first, and then you get your ice cream later, right? And of course, we haven't even talked about strategic Bitcoin reserve idea, which also probably coming later this year. So if Donald Trump swaps income taxes for tariffs or even just lightens the tax load, risk assets like BTC, again, could do very well. But let's not kid ourselves. There is a dark side here. This could all crash into some kind of recessionary hell. Tariffs might tank trade, inflation could spike anyway, and we're just generally screwed. Consumers lose their jobs, people lose their houses. Fuck. The thing is, we've been racing for a 2025, 2026 market dive anyway. We've been discussing it a lot here on the channel, and it sucks, but cycles, they happen. They play out like this. Now, when we get to the big crash, of course, then the Fed cranks up the money printers again eventually, and we're back to kumbaya vibes. Question is that going to take 3-4 years to play out? Guess we're all waiting to get rich and we're going to be community members if that's the case. The point is, us regular people, we can't really steer tariff wars in the direction we want or economic chaos. We just have to deal with what is given to us, right? The big people make the big calls and then the impacts will be felt. But we can prepare for both sides. Now, my strategy, when markets go up again, take more money off the table, keep taking profits out, secure that initial capital, leave the moon bags, okay? There will always be pumps, there will always be relief rallies, even if we are going into a horrific bear market now, there will still be relief rallies. And if we take back $90,000, $92,000 Bitcoin, some kind of confidence, maybe we're next phase of the bull market up, right? The tricky part is once you start taking money out of the market, to not put it back into the crypto market, not put it into stocks, but just sit on it. Sit on it, put it somewhere relatively safe, and just wait. And that's the hardest thing for a lot of people. Taking profits is hard. Sitting on cash is even harder, especially if you're early. You keep watching stuff go up. Or as soon as markets turn a little bit, like, oh, it's 5% down. I'm going to buy now. It must be a good buy. A lot of mistakes will be made, okay? But just remember, it can play out either way. We obviously hope for the bullish scenario, that it's Trump pulls off this perfect landing. Okay, and everyone's going to be so tired of getting rich again. The flip side is that more often than not, these kind of things end up with wild economic chaos. Be safe out there. Thanks for watching.